What is up, my friends? Welcome to the CrossFit Edwardsville Community Podcast, where we get to learn from our CFE coaches, meet and learn some of our CFE CrossFitters, and we actually get to meet and learn some about some of our Glen Ed community leaders and business owners and kind of the characters behind them. So today, super excited about today's conversation. I am your co-host, Dallas Amston. I am the Chief Ignition Officer for the Men of Faith and Fire movement, where we help Christian dads defeat their overwhelm and their burnout, and podcast of the same name. But my other co-host, Coach G. Skell. G. Skell is the CEO and General Manager of CrossFit. G, how about you, man?
I'm feeling good, man. Feeling good. Super excited that today we get to speak with Tracy and Adam Micun, the proprietors of Glen Ed's newest and hottest businesses, 618 Nutrition and Energy. Adam, Tracy, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, thanks for having us. We're so stoked to be here. This is going to be awesome. We're so excited.
That's fantastic. So guys, we're just going to jump right into the conversation. In the last 6 months, 618 Nutrition and Energy has kind of burst into the Glen Carbon Edwardsville, Glen Ed community on the health eatery scene as the popular kind of new go-to place for all kinds of shakes and other meal replacements.
And many of our CrossFitters here at CFE have already visited 618 Nutrition and Energy, and they have a long list. They have a long list of positive things to say about 618 Nutrition. So we're excited to actually learn about this new place and about the founding duo behind it, Adam and Tracy, which, as I understand it, today is their very first time ever on a podcast.
It is definitely our first podcast.
We had to Google what's a podcast first before we agreed to be on it. Like, podcast.
Yeah.
So is it like an Audible book or like what? So no, we're excited.
That's right, and you get to listen to it at double speed too if you want. So let's go ahead and jump on into it. How does it feel to be the cool new kids on the block?
It's pretty awesome. It's pretty cool. We didn't expect, we knew it would get big, but we had no idea that it would explode as fast as it did. So it's exciting.
I agree with Tracy. I mean, we worked, a very regimented pre-opening plan and we expected a lot of community support, but we just never expected it to get crazy right out of the gate. I mean, it's straight fire right now. There's a lot of reasons behind that. I know we're going to get into some of that later, but we're just so psyched to be a part of that community and be part of the local community and business owners. And that's half the secret, but we'll talk about some of that later.
Sure.
So what is 618 Nutrition and Energy in your own words, guys?
I mean, it's super simple, right? So our nutrition club, we call them nutrition clubs. Tracy's not hiding it, right? These are Herbalife nutrition clubs. There's about 4,600 of these across the country. They're relatively new to this region. There's some in South County, different organization, but relatively new to the Southern Illinois scene. So quite simply, right, we have amazing tasting meal replacement shakes, right? Super high protein, very low sugar, very low carb meal replacement shakes. Come in a variety of flavors. They taste like candy bars or ice cream sundaes, things like that. Energizing teas. So we take all the things that people love about energy and caffeination and reformulate that into something that's healthy, right? So instead of having lots of stimulants and sugar and those kind of things, we have very high B complex ratios, vitamin C, herbal green teas. Those things get compounded into a variety of beverages that are obviously much better for you, right, than high sugar, high stimulant kind of things, right? In fact, there's zero sugar. So that's part of it. But you can do that anywhere, right? You can go to lots of places and get protein shakes and energy drinks and things like that. So we do it in a cool coffee house kind of vibe, right? We've got a bar-like atmosphere. We've got great tunes playing. It's high energy. There's great Wi-Fi and seating. So we've got lots of people who come in and stay for hours, right? And meet or get work done or things like that. And that's kind of the frontage of it. But behind the scenes, there's an awful lot of health coaching. We do meal planning. And then of course you have access to all of the Herbalife nutrition supplements. So Herbalife's been the #1 nutrition supplement company in the world for a long time. We did $9 billion in sales last year. So you have access to all that as well.
Very cool. So, G, you want to go ahead and kind of take this next series of questions?
Yeah. So we want to dig more into the 618 story and the background, the origin story more shortly here. But first, I want to take a step back and get to know Adam and Tracy a little bit better, because I'm excited. I love meeting other entrepreneurs and getting to learn about them and their stories. So for you guys, tell us about your upbringing and your childhood, like where you guys are from, what your family was like, any special memories that really shaped you as people.
Yeah, for sure. I'll kind of kick it off and you can kind of go from there. So just because mine is such a part of my story, I get asked to speak a lot at different events, and the story is one that I tell often. So, we grew up, and I don't want to say dirt poor, but we grew up relatively low income, so nutrition and those kind of aspects of life were just not a focus in our household, right? Be that as it may, or what, my parents were just not motivated by those kind of things. We got divorced. My parents got divorced when I was very, very young. Grew up with my mother. My dad was like the once a month dad kind of dad, right? Back in the 70s and 80s. And, she just, to this day, right? I mean, never made more than $10 an hour, just wasn't motivated by success or achievement or things like that. So, anything we ever wanted in life as kids, and I've got 5 siblings, right? So we had to get it. We had to earn it. I started sweeping out a flower shop in 4th grade to get some extra money after school. And, until I was 14, I could get a real job, right? Those kind of things. Eventually it's crazy. My lifestyle or my work ethic, it kind of exceeded the family. I mean, I literally moved out of my house at 14 and went on, to kind of be a solo act. It was crazy. So for me, it was about escaping that chain, right? I mean, the lesson I learned on that side of the family was that if you do nothing and you're a slug, you're just nothing ever great is going to happen, right? You've got to work harder to do things. On the other side of the fence, I'd go to my dad's twice a month, right? For the weekend or whatever. And he was one of those guys, boomer product, right? So all he knew was work. I've never known my dad, he passed away early, 62 years old, but, never knew my dad when he didn't have 3 full-time jobs, right? So, he'd work 50, 60 hours a week, corporate life. He was a police officer for 20, 24 hours, a week. He worked consulting work for other companies and trying to help. He's an operations kind of expert, logistics expert. So did a lot of that. So this was 2 very different exposures, right? And for me, the lesson lied somewhere in the middle. So there was no work, which led nowhere. And there was very inefficient, just grinding it out, spinning your wheels work for somebody else, which led him right to the grave, right? So the answer lies somewhere in the middle. And it took me a really long time to find that. But that's kind of the programming and kind of the struggle that I had growing up, coming up through my 20s. And, you guys have read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? So it's kind of like I had 2 sides of that. And I fell into that path of, well, if I want to escape this, then I've got to go to school. I've got to get a job. I've got to work for somebody else. And that's the only way that I'm going to make it out of there. And we'll fast forward a little bit later in the podcast, we'll talk about some of that. But, that's kind of where some of my focus and clarity came from, was later on down the road. But in the beginning, it was just all about kind of escaping those 2 things and carving my own path, because I had both sides of the equation to kind of learn from.
Sure. So, Adam, what part of the country did you grow up in, too?
Yeah, Tracy and I both grew up outside of Philadelphia.
Okay.
Believe it or not, but we didn't know each other. We didn't meet until I had come back to that area for work in my late 20s, and we had an opportunity to meet each other. And we got married late. Didn't have kids until we were 30. So
sure,
we have 4. A senior at Father McGivney, a sophomore at Edwardsville High School, and then 2 at Boniface, one of which was going to Liberty next year. So we kind of have them spread out all over the district here in different schools.
Dude, good luck with that, man.
Yeah, right.
Exactly right. So,
well, Tracy, what about you, Tracy? Tell us a little bit about your upbringing too.
So I'm actually from Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Not the outskirts. Adam was an outskirt kid in the suburbs, living the good life.
He's a pretender. He wants to be from Philadelphia.
He wanted to be from Philly, but he wasn't.
You're from the Philadelphia area. She's from Philly.
I'm like,
right?
from
That's
Philly.
the difference.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But it was my mom and my brother. We were a small family. My parents divorced when I was young, but I still saw my dad. So we were still always, doing things together. I don't know. I don't know. I don't really have an exciting life.
Her excitement was when she met me, guys.
I'm like not an exciting person. I'm kind of.
I guess knowing from you're from Philadelphia. I guess I need to ask this question: Geno's or Pat's?
Neither.
Oh, okay.
What's the third option?
Steve's Prince of Steaks. It's in Northeast Philly.
Okay.
Best one.
All right.
The other two are tourist traps.
The other ones you just
I know that, but I know that's become the big question over the last few years.
It really is.
But Geno's.
No. You need to go a little bit further into town and get a good cheesesteak. And never get a cheesesteak outside of Philadelphia because that's not it.
That's great.
So you just started to mention there a few minutes ago your family now. Tell us a little bit more about your kids or pets or anything in your personal lives.
Yeah, so our oldest is a senior at McGivney, like Adam said. She's getting ready to graduate in just a couple weeks here. They only have a few weeks left of school. She's headed off to Xavier. She just declared. So she's going there, which is very exciting for us. Our first one moving out and moving on. She's going to study music and history.
Mm-hmm.
And then our sophomore is at EHS. Totally loves it. Super social. She actually is in the business with us. So she works in the club with us and became a distributor for Herbalife. Very cool. She's just starting her journey now, which is really cool to kind of have her with us as we're starting what we're doing. And have her
running the shop right now while you guys are doing this with us.
You know what? She's actually home with the younger kids because they stayed home from school today. So I had to switch her out with somebody else. Otherwise, she was supposed to be running the shop.
That's wild. Family operation, family business for sure.
You just have to go with it. You have to move them around. So 2 little kids at Boniface, 1 in 5th grade, 1 in 7th grade. And I guess they're not really little kids anymore, but it's what they are because we've got 2 in high school and 2 in elementary. You've got the big kids and the little kids.
Yeah, there's been
imagine that like you guys with as big as the Micun family is, you guys are probably very connected into the community here now.
Yeah, so we moved here in 2011 from Philadelphia, and we have no family here. So everybody that we've met has become family to us because it's hard. You move away from your family, you have no one to call and say, my kid's sick, I need this, I need that. So the community was amazing, and we made such great friends here that they've become our family and people that we can rely on. So we became very involved with our kids' schools. 2 of our kids are in scouts, so we're both scout leaders for them. So we kind of got our way into doing it that way, and we've met so many people through.
Well, I bet that helps you guys a ton. Given that so many people in the community then know about you guys, it puts a face to the 618 Nutrition name, and probably you have a built-in client base right off the bat.
It was definitely helpful.
Definitely. So we were very fortunate. I spent 20 years grinding it out in corporate America. I was very fortunate to have an amazing job, great pay and all those kind of things. And we are all about trying to flow as much back the other way as we can at all times. And fun fact, I don't know if it's fun or not, but I was an auctioneer for a long time. Once upon a time when I was very young, I got into auctioneering and kind of never gave it up. So one of the things when we moved here is I got very involved with charity, and we were doing a dozen, 2 dozen, 30 at the kind of the high point charity auctions a year, whether it was Partners for Pets or Allison's Hope or you name it, right?
Schools,
a lot of the schools, junior services, Children's Miracle Network, like those kind of things that happen locally but regionally, those kind of things. So. I was happy those are things we wanted to do, right? So we got very involved in that side of the community, which led us to meet so many incredible small business owners, community leaders, right? Other people who were involved and wanted to be involved. And, to be able to do that for 10 years prior to saying, hey, we're going to open this nutrition club and just see if we can help even more people. Really help set the foundation, right?
Well, okay, I'm going to have to ask.
Yeah, of course.
Because you dropped the auctioneer thing, so right. That's coming at you here, Adam. But obviously, after we get your auctioneering here for a second, you just mentioned some of those things that are on your hearts, those charities. We'd love to also hear about some other hobbies or interests or pursuits outside of work. But first, Adam, we got to hear some auctioneering.
You got to hear a little auctioneering.
Go for it.
I don't know. Oh, want to go 100 now? To go 105 now? To go 150. Oh, who to go 100 now? 175 now? Who to give me 2 now? To give me 2? To give 200 now? 2 in the back now? 250. So little.
It's its own skill. Every time I hear it, I think it's fascinating.
That wasn't even that good, but that's all right.
Well, I didn't give you a subject. I didn't tell you what to auction off here. So, so tell us again. You mentioned some of those charities and things that you've worked with. But outside of work, what are some of your other interests and hobbies?
Yeah, do we have 4 kids and we work full time? Do we have hobbies? No. My hobbies are getting up early at 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Making
sure. Kids do.
No,
those are our hobbies.
I would say, so I love the golf, right? That's like kind of some relaxation time. It's probably like the only relaxation time that I get. We're not movie people, we're not TV people or things like that. So just getting out and getting some serenity for me is kind of the golf experience, right? So
serenity now.
I am we're very different like this. I'm very much a social butterfly. So I like to be places and meeting people and talking and meeting new people and things like that. And Tracy likes to do those kind of things too, but she likes to kind of be the sidecar on that, right?
Sure.
She wants to participate, but not have to
do all of that.
Cold start it, right? So
sure.
I find this husband and wife tag team thing fascinating. And I want to ask more about that in a little bit here. But have you guys always known that you wanted to start your own business, or what was it that attracted you to starting your own business in the first place?
So I'll kind of kick this off, and you kind of jump in. But I kind of mentioned earlier, I started working early, started kind of grinding it out early, and fell into this trap of going to work for somebody else, right, and just making somebody else successful, right? And just I was never unhappy with that in the beginning, just doing a great job. And it is, right? You do a great job. Someone asks you to do another job, you get promoted, and that felt good for a while. But after about 10 years, so let's, fast forward, I'm 30 years old and I was pretty miserable and people couldn't understand that, right? Like, how can you have a fantastic job, fantastic company, great benefits and, bonuses and stock, you name it, right? You have a great house, you have a great family. How could you possibly be miserable? Because I literally wake up every morning, get in the shower, just put my head down and say, I cannot believe I'm doing this again today, right? I wasn't doing anything I wanted to do. And I justified that by saying that, we're going to do something great later, right? We're going to suffer now and do something great later. And I talked to so many people in the course of my life, in the course of the day, right? And there's so many people on that same path, and they're just where I was. They have no idea how wrong that is, right? But you can't see it until you're ready to see it, right? So I've always had other things going on, right? It's not like I was a professional auctioneer. That's all I did. Right? It was just something I did to raise extra money, do something fun, have a little side business, I've actually been in Herbalife since 1996. So I've always been kind of a guy that sold Herbalife sometimes, but now I'm the Herbalife guy, right? So it's a little bit different. They used to be separated. Now they're kind of one and the same. But we've always had little side projects and, we do a lot of fantasizing, man, let's flip houses. Let's do this. Let's get into rental property, So we as people always wanted, there's always more. We always want to do more. We've always wanted our own thing. We just never really knew. There's 2 pieces of this. Never really knew necessarily how to do it, or the times when we did know how to do it, we just thought that was for somebody else, right? That'll never work for us. It's
sure.
It just
too many kids.
The risk management was too outside the box. And it just never took that step, and it kills me. I wish I could go back 20 years and make a lot of different decisions, but they all lead here, right?
Don't we all?
they all lead here.
Yeah, we're all learning as we go along. So what was it that made you guys want to start a healthy shakes or nutrition shop specifically?
So again, kind of having the background already. So my life, man, if you look at I wish I could share them with you right now. Some before and after pictures throughout the course of my life, right? So just kind of going back to childhood, my parents, I mean, they were like a tag team wrestling match, right? They walked in the room, it was like weighing 800 pounds, the Micuns, So, we just didn't come from that fitness or health conscious, mentality in our family. It's on either side, right? Post divorce, just wasn't a thing, So we never ate right. We never really forced to exercise. And it wasn't until I got into high school that I really got into sports and athletics and wrestling and playing basketball and things like that I really just found some passion around this. And, I graduated high school, 135 pounds soaking wet, put on another 20 pounds of muscle kind of into my 20s, right? Because I was really super into working out aggressively. Mm-hmm. Got one of the first, here's how old I am. I got one of the first Bowflexes that was ever produced in my 20s. I wish I had that picture today, but we got to get one for 6 months for free if we got to do photo promos, my old roommate and I. So, and then
that means you're not much older than me because I remember that day.
Yeah, that's great. So, and then it happened, right? So then I got married and I worked harder and I worked more and we had 4 kids and I sat on the sofa at night and I watched TV and it was literally 100 pounds later. I was like, oh my gosh, like what has happened in our life, right? What has happened in my life? And it happened to both of us. And I refound my passion for that, several years back. But I still kind of separated my own results from helping other people. I would casually help other people. It's kind of like a secret, right? They're like, well, what did you do to lose weight? Or what did you do to do this? And I use this product, let me hook you up. Right.
Yeah.
Versus at this point saying, why not? Why not just do this full time? I was fortunate enough to kind of reach the end of the road during COVID. We closed the corporate office where I worked. Everyone was furloughed eventually. We had to re-interview for jobs.
Yep.
We took a 270 person management team across the country down to about 90 region, 30 per region. And I just didn't make the cut. Right. So, we were kind of back at the beginning and there was no way at that point, just being kicked around so many times. I've been through so many downsizings and, reorganizations, and 99% of the time came out on top, but just always scared and fearful of the environment that someone else is creating for our success. Right. And I don't know what flip switched during COVID that we just made both of us together. And maybe that was it. Maybe it was a unity around a decision, but both of us were like, we are just not doing this again, putting our eggs in somebody else's basket. Let's take all the things that we know that we're good at, figure out how we're going to harness these together, and let's just go do it. Just do it. Whatever it takes, we're going to do it.
And I'll be honest, because I drive past you guys every day on my way to CFE to our CrossFit gym, and when I saw the sign going up during 2020, and I'm watching all these other signs come down as shops are shutting down and local, and I'm driving past, I was like, man, I don't know what they're thinking, but all right, good for them.
Kitchen equipment. I got all kinds of stuff wholesale.
Sure.
Yeah,
that was
business during a pandemic.
Say that again, Tracy.
I said, who opens a business during a pandemic?
Well, I thought to myself, there must be something they've done before this to open the retail shop. And not knowing you were Herbalife, definitely moving into the retail space, I think, is a great choice. But tell us a little bit about, let's actually talk a little bit more about your business itself, 618 Nutrition and Energy. What made you want to start specifically, again, because Herbalife can be direct sales, a lot of it, but what made you actually want to open the shop specifically?
Yeah. So, we had looked at a lot of opportunities. Once we kind of decided that we weren't going to do it for somebody else anymore, right? We were going to do something for our family, for ourselves, for our kids, right? So once we made that decision, which was I mean, that's not an easy decision to get to when you say, okay, we're going to blow all of our money, right, and all of our resources, and we're going to, shoestring this up from our, all of our reserves to do something, no matter what it was. And, and we had looked at franchises, we had looked at self-employment, I had opportunities with other folks who have businesses where we thought we might have some synergy and things like that. And ultimately just kept coming back to other folks in our network who had nutrition clubs, who were doing this successfully. I mean, there's 4,600 of these, and about 110 in our network of people that, we directly interface with, and just repeated exposure, repeated trainings, just talking to them about how much they were loving it, going to visit some of those. I mean, we jumped in the car one day last June and we drove to Amarillo, Texas with like 24-hour notice. I'm like, what are we doing?
We literally packed the kids in the car.
Like, hey, everybody in the car. Oh, where are we going? Are we going to dinner? No, we're going to Amarillo, right? I mean, it was crazy. So
sounds like a good country song.
We went down to a buddy of mine's place, and he put us up, and we went and just looked at a whole bunch of clubs that he had in the region. And by the time we got back in the car, I mean, we were like, that's it. This is what we've been missing. We're going to take all the things we love, just roll them up, and we're going to do this. And
one of the cool things about like starting your own business, you can create your own mission, your own vision. So are you guys, can you guys share with us what the mission for 618 Nutrition is?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so there's a lot of missions, right? There's personal missions, there's business missions, but individual missions. I know Tracy and I have often different goals and speed of acceleration, challenges between us and things like that. But I mean, the mission for us is just, I mean, it's so simple, and it's almost identical to the mission that CFE's in, right? There's just so many people out there that need us, that need this kind of support. 70% of America is classified as obese. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, and we've come that, just in the last 20, 30 years, when you look at fast food options and accessibility and Western diet and farming and, GMO, just all the things that have just led to just this crazy poor diet, malnutrition, lack of activity, right? I mean, jobs get more and more tech-based. You spend more and more time on your behind, remote settings and things like that. And it's created an incredible culture of just complacency and sedentary, environments, right? And people just need something like this. They need us. So our mission is really on that level, and the community level is twofold. One, help individuals achieve the goals that they're looking for. It's that simple, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's weight loss, weight gain, becoming more fit, getting into the best shape of their life, no matter what that is, right? It's tweaking in any one of those directions. And so we have the nutrition club, we have the bar, right, where you can come in and retail shakes and teas. But a huge part of our business is programming, right? Working with folks to make sure that we're optimizing calories, we're optimizing all the macros, your protein, your sugar, your carbs, and just making sure we're hitting that resting metabolism number so we can fuel thermogenics, right? So just making sure that we are providing all of the education, right? It's about that education piece so that we can then set them up for the other side of the fence, right? Which is activity, right? So you got to fuel the furnace, you got to put all the right things in the tank, but you still have to tackle the mission, you still got to put in the work. And, and that's where, having a lot of your clients, Greg, come to us, we're kind of providing a small piece of that. You guys do a lot of programming as well. But then, of course, we don't have the physical activity side of the fence here at 618 Nutrition. It's partnering with like CFE and other local folks to do that kind of activity. So that's kind of the individual consumer mission. For us personally, and I'm doing a lot of talking, so you can
keep on going.
You can tell me to shut up here, whatever you want. So, for us, it was all about the freedom. We just weren't going to be scared through downsizing, upsizing, right sizing, or any of those kind of things. We joked. I mean, I literally was looking for a job in 2018 for the first time since 1992. I thought I had to go buy the newspaper and cut out the ads and mail in my resume somewhere. It was an entirely new world for me. So we were just convinced, and it takes a while to get there, convinced we just weren't going to do it for anybody else but ourselves. So if you can think of and you guys are on the exact same mission, so it's not hard to manifest this. But if you have a career or you have a day where your job consists of helping people achieve their goals, physical, personal, and then financial when you talk about the Herbalife business, but we also get to have the freedom, the flexibility, the small business ownership, and we get to connect and network with other small business owners, right? Tracy and I are all about small business, keeping it local, eating local, shopping. All the things that keep all of us in business collectively, right? So that is just, I see the hashtag, but literally that's our life, right? And we want that same support back too, and we give it and we get it and we help each other. So, and it all started with the kind of that charity thing.
So help us understand too, like how 618 Nutrition is differentiated. Like you got the Smoothie Kings, the Jamba Juices of the world. Like how is your thing different? Like, which by the way, like we appreciate you guys. # support local. Take your local instances, but like other than that, like more like at an industry level, like what's the separator for you guys?
Yeah. So first let's acknowledge that all of those, for the most part, right, no matter what franchise it is, they are most of the time operated and owned by a local independent entrepreneur. So a lot of those are still small businesses, singly owned, or owned by couples or families who have a couple operations, things like that. So we're just different, right? Everything has its own niche space, and for us, the niche that's unfulfilled by some of those others is extremely high protein, extremely low sugar, low carb, right across the board. Like you can't get an 85 gram sugar product in my shop, right? If you worked your hardest, added any ingredient or piece you could find, you could top out at 250 and about 15 grams of sugar. You'd have to work hard to do that, right? So it's the niche for us, and it's because it's not about the differentiator. It's not about the volume; it's about the quality. So our goal is not to be the biggest and best shake and tea shop. That's not what it's all about for us. Those are tools, and they're part of an overall package that supports health and well-being and advancement on your physical journey, right? So it's more of a niche, and it's more designed for a specific purpose.
So what's the ultimate vision? Like, where are you guys wanting to go from here?
Isn't the ultimate vision like always global takeover? No. Global dominance? No.
Typically.
Yeah, right. No. So, and then we differ a little bit, here. Tracy's pretty happy here at the club, and, I'm not taking vision away from you, but,
I'd like to see a few more open.
I want to have like 10 of these bad boys open, in the next 2 years. And it's not nobody's in business for, total charity, right? So, disclaimer, right? But
sure.
I don't know about you.
Yeah, right.
Really all I'm interested in.
We have a very unique business model that's different from all the, so every all those other examples that you mentioned are about turning profits and individual profit and loss statements, right? So whereas some of that comes with the expansion, it gives us an opportunity. We don't really want to own any of those operations, right? We want to help other people have the freedom and the success and the opportunities that we've created for ourselves. And that's kind of how the expansion in Herbalife Nutrition Clubs work, right? So it's a little bit like a car dealership, not to put that in a negative light, but there's a retail piece and there's a volume piece.
Yeah.
So if they're very successful and they launch a successful business, we've got a little small piece of that on the back end that comes back. And it doesn't come from them, it comes from the company.
So maybe then for you guys, like once the current storefront is well established, you guys try to replicate the model at a different corner somewhere in the St. Louis area. Is that right?
Yeah, so first, so to replicate, you have to find the perfection or the near perfection, right? So we're still tripping over ourselves and trying to figure out exactly, the best way to operate and create some processes and things like that. And, we've been open, 8 weeks now?
Yeah.
So, every week is kind of a new adventure in small business ownership. And this week's challenge was let's do a podcast, right? So, and Tracy was like, "Oh, I'm terrible at podcasts." She came right out of the gate, so I'm like, "Oh, you're awesome at this." So,
yeah.
But and that's that's the challenge, right? Is just finding our path and creating a duplicable model at this point.
Yeah.
And we're very close, and we've got a couple side projects in the wings with some folks that we're working on. I'm going to keep the lid on that for now, but absolutely. I mean, this is the duplicable model, right? So other folks who are starting in this business are going to open clubs. I've got some here today. They'll be here first. They'll train here. They'll learn the processes. They'll learn the products, and then we'll kind of spin them out to new locations and help them open their own business. And we'll back that for them, right? So we're gonna
support them and help them get where they need to be.
Exactly. So, and we have a whole process for that.
Fascinating stuff. So I like the interplay between the two of you guys, and I like to hear you guys speak this a little bit because for me and my wife, we are the co-leaders here at CFE, and I can say it took us a while to figure out the division of labor and how to be like spouses and work together is a unique set of challenges for the entrepreneurs, right? So how do you guys balance being spouses and business partners in these endeavors?
You want to start?
No,
really?
It's I don't know. It's easy. I think it's easy.
We sure need to hear from Tracy on this one.
Yeah, I feel so.
I think it's easy for us. I don't know why it's easy. It just kind of works. I kind of make the rules and say this is how we're going to do it. Adam just
say it's easy, right?
Goes along with it, and it's great. I think it's super easy.
When you realize it's a partnership, but only one person's in charge, it works real well. So,
I will say, so you guys have got us by a few. You guys have been married since 2001. You said
2001, yeah.
So you have 20 years in. We're 13 years in right now, and I know this. If Caroline says it, she's probably right. And as long as I recognize that, things will probably go okay.
Exactly.
That's pretty close, right?
Exactly right.
I mean, I can count. I mean, I think Tracy will back me up. And we've probably had 5 fights or less in 20 years. I mean, that's a crazy God's honest truth. And like all of us, right? You date a lot of people and you meet a lot of people before you get married. And I just never knew compatibility until Tracy and I got together. What I thought was the definition of compatibility was just nowhere close to the symbiotic relationship and the compatibility and the enjoyment that we get from being married to each other. And
man, what a pickup line. I never knew compatibility till you.
It's not going to work. It's a school night.
There's the word symbiosis there. I haven't heard the word symbiosis in a while. That's a hot take right there.
But
the Micun symbiosis.
Well, so in all seriousness, though, from a business aspect, we did spend a lot of time carving out a lot of roles and responsibilities, and they were focused around, our strengths and weaknesses. And there's certain things that Tracy's very good at, or she is very much the OCD, kind of person, and systems and processes, and I'm very much more the guy that makes like a huge vision mess and then she has to clean it up, right? So I always have a lot of great ideas, but she's an excellent executor and kind of brings vision to light. And so that's kind of big picture. But on the small scale, I mean, it's clear division of labor, right? There's things I do, there's things she does.
Yeah.
We have, those are openly discussed and mutually understood. But I think the difference is that this is a 50-50 business too. So I am very conscious and Tracy's very conscious. Our home life is like this too, right? So I would never write it. So I'll give you an example, writing checks, right? Mm-hmm. I'm the accountant. I pay the bills. Tracy signs the checks. Forces us to have a conversation around what's happening financially in the business, right?
Sure.
Tracy is much more, she's always creating new shakes, new teas, or bringing new people into the club or introducing me to folks and things like that. And while I do a lot of that too, she runs more the day to day. She's the one that makes sure that there's product on the shelf and all the ingredients are filled, and we actually have people who show up to work, right? So
Adam would have no employees.
Yeah, probably not. So we just have different visions and we have different skill sets, and we the communication is the key to that, right? So we talked about that. We're both man enough, quote unquote, so to speak, to admit where the shortfalls are and let the other person pick up that slack, but then communicate with each other about what's happening. So it's hard not to communicate when you're in a 900 square foot building with each other for 10, 12 hours a day. So.
Well, it's just so important that you guys are able to do that dance well, that you guys can be both the spouse and the business partners, because, going into business for yourself is scary, and you're going to have all kinds of crazy, never saw that coming, WTF moments come down the pipeline. So, you're early into this, but I'm curious, what scares you guys the most about doing this business thing?
Yeah, so I'll tell you, those moments, we had a lot of those moments during startup. So we were in build out for 6 months before we opened. So we signed the lease back in September of 2020.
I saw that. I was worried about that because I saw you guys, the official, this business was born in September, but I swear to God I didn't see you guys till 2 months ago.
Yeah. So we didn't open the doors for our grand opening until February 28th.
Yeah.
So we got a fantastic deal in the space, great negotiation, and, did our own build out. And, so we got a lot of leniency on that and had some time to build that out. And, man, I'll tell you, we just ran across every surprise or things we just didn't know about along the way, $5,000 plumbing bills we didn't expect, 2-inch piping where there's supposed to be 3-inch piping, or, little health codes or food service codes we didn't know about.
So you just don't know.
Just stuff we didn't know, and
sure,
when you're doing a building renovation on your own, right? So the people who were in the space before us, I mean, they left it as is, left the lease, everything was on the wall, the floor, the ceiling. I mean, it was completely, they turned the key and left, right? So, so we had to demo first and then rebuild, and we learned a lot about, construction codes, ourselves, how to work together, right? So
that was probably harder. The build out was probably harder than working every day.
Definitely true.
Now.
Definitely true. Design differences, right? So we didn't have an architect, or we laid it all out. We designed it, submitted all the plans. Went back and forth with the village and the county on on plans and things like that. So, man, I'll tell you, you get to work together a lot during build out when all those things are coming up and you got to move things. So, but I mean, next club after that, I mean, it's going to be 10 times more efficient.
Right.
Well, now. You've been through that.
So the fear, though, so that the fear when you're in business for yourself, right, is maintaining maintaining the level of success. So what we have to keep in front of us is, I mean, it's just so critical, right? I mean, it's just so fundamental. And I'll kind of tie a story to it. So I had a lady in a few weeks ago, and she said, "Hey, I've been to 3 nutrition clubs now, in the St. Louis area, and I like yours the best. And I've decided." I'm like, "Well, thank you." Right. So it's like, I've decided I'm going to come to yours. I'm like, "Oh, thank goodness." So, but then she said, "No, I'm going to give you some feedback. You have to be ready to receive it." I'm like, "Definitely." Right. So whatever, the good, the bad, the ugly, give it to me. Right. You've decided to come here. Why? What's happening? So, so she gave us a bunch of feedback, about products and things like that, shakes versus shakes, teas versus tea, all that kind of stuff. That's not really important. You can live with those little idiosyncrasies, right? I like the straws better at this place than this place, kind of stuff. But the number one takeaway for her was that she comes here for the show and the atmosphere, right? She comes here for the involvement and the engagement. So we have to remember when we're duplicating. So it's easy to duplicate process, right? We can duplicate making a fantastic shake or programming or coaching. I mean, it's all numbers, it's all data. You can't duplicate entertainment, engagement, passion, those kind of things. So for us, it's remembering every day, which I think we do a fantastic job of, but we have to remember, we come in the door 5:30 in the morning, it's on, right? I mean, it's showtime. I might have been up late doing a science project until midnight, and I only slept for 4 hours. But it's game time when the door opens, and you got to bring it to this whole new level that it may be like not even anywhere in your normal level, right? That's just your level in the game, so you've got game day performance, but you got game day performance every single day. And that's what's, for her, that was the most important part of the quality or the experience being here at 618 versus going to somewhere else where she might be able to get a shake or a tea, or some Herbalife products, things like that.
So what excites you guys the most about the business?
That was it.
I think the people excite us the most. Having them come in and seeing how excited they get. I mean, people come in here and they tell you, I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited. This is so great. Where has this been? We've been waiting forever for something like this to come here. And when they're excited, then that makes us more excited because we're so excited that we can be here to give you what you want and what you need. So I think it's the people in the community.
Oh my gosh, hands down, right? So, we weigh in a lot of people during the course of a week and update all their bio numbers. And when you have someone sitting in front of you, 2 weeks ago, go back 2 weeks and they couldn't tell you what a calorie was or didn't know anything about protein or, carbs or sugar, and you're building this vision for them because they've got a clear direction that they want to go, and they come back and they weigh in next week or the week at, every week. Right. But, and they're crying. I mean, literally crying because they've lost 5 pounds and they've gained a percent or two of muscle and lost a percent or two of fat. And
they feel good. They feel healthy. They feel energized.
We have a really mean scale that gives you like your body age too. And, and they're like, man, I got 3 years of my life back, those kind of, and when they're sitting here weeping, it is emotional, right? I mean, it is hard to not be so engaged with those clients on a personal level. So Tracy is 150% right. It is that's what we got into this for. It's people, help people achieve those goals. And we develop, it's almost, it's, I don't know, creepy might be the wrong word, but I always ask myself, is this too much? Because I find myself falling into personal relationships with customers or clients like all the time because we're so involved in an emotional course with them, right? So of course there's a percentage of clients who come in here for a healthy shake and a healthy tea, right? And so we have to remember also, we're also here to provide great service and get you in and out if that's your goal, right? Yeah. But there's a broad spectrum of things there. So we gotta know with each client, like, what that engagement point is. Is it fast and furious because I'm already 10 minutes late? Or is it that emotional connection or that engagement? So
it almost sounds like, so we know that for us here at CrossFit Edwardsville, like we are not a gym, we are a coaching business, and it is a relationship business. Absolutely. Like there is like that. The personal connection with the people is a big part. Like people come to us because they want to look better, they want to feel better, they want to perform better. They stay because they become so connected to the community. They have friends here. They become loyal to a coach or whatever. So, like this is really important, and maybe there's some parallels with you guys there as well. So, and we want to blast through a few last questions. We first really appreciate you guys taking so much time to hang out with us today during the work day. So we'll blast through some questions here. First up for you guys, in the last 5 years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has most improved your life? Tracy, how do you go first?
Nice job, Greg.
Yeah. So I would say just getting back into what we're doing Herbalife has been a big change for us, for me. I mean, I think it's for all of us, for our family, having this that we build into slowly. We're into it full time now, and we're doing it for us. We're doing it for our kids. Yeah. Sorry. So something that we can do for them and give more to our own kids. We're kind of losing time with them a little bit because we're here all the time, but they know that we're doing it for them, and ultimately it's going to be something that is building for them and for their future. So I think over the last few years, it was just kind of getting to this point where we are now.
Same question, Adam, go.
For sure. I mean, this one's a no-brainer for me. So, I spent 20 years or more on the wrong track on a wrong belief system. And for me, it was the moment when I said, I said it a long time before Tracy. Tracy would just kind of say, yeah, whatever, let me know when you're at reality on some of this stuff, right? But you know, for me, it was when I realized that I was not going to do something for somebody else, right? But you can say anything, but you have to do something, right? So
Yeah,
for me, it was taking on personal development, right? You know, you can never outperform your level of personal development, right? So you got to do a lot of personal development, a lot of self inventory, you know, a lot of things around time management. You know, I wanted a lot more time to strategize and develop ideas and work on things. So I had to become really good at managing my time. You know, and the rest was really around community engagement, strategic, you know, I don't call them partnerships, but just getting involved in the right things and putting yourself in the right position to learn from others who have been down that path, right? So, you know, when I worked for Morgan Stanley back in the early 90s, and I worked for a gentleman named Ray, and guy told me the secret of life, right? He said the secret of life is no matter what you're doing, find somebody older than you, richer than you, and more successful than you who's done it before, and just follow the path, right? There's no wheel that hasn't been invented, so there's no reason to reinvent it. Somebody's done it. Seek it out, do the development, put in the work, right? So for me, it was about finding that time to do those kind of things. So there's kind of two things in one, right? But you know, in a 12-hour a week job or 12-hour a day job, previous life, corporate kind of America kind of stuff, carving out a couple hours a day was, you know, kind of seems impossible, right? So I had to find very challenging ways to do that. That meant getting up an hour earlier, right? Getting that, you know, I remember, I was so miserable when I kind of started this journey, getting up like 4:30 in the morning. We had like the Bowflex. I still have a Bowflex, right? It's like not a Bowflex commercial, but getting on the Bowflex and my elliptical in the basement at like 4:30 in the morning. And I'm like wondering, I'm literally exercising, wondering if it's okay for like my heart this early in the morning to be working out this hard, you know? So, but I was like, man, I got vision.
We can relate to that, man. We can relate to that.
That's crazy. Just putting in the work. I mean, this is crazy, right? It's probably like some kind of etiquette. You probably can't say it, but dude, look at that guy on that side of the picture, dude. That's who I was.
Yeah.
When I was in corporate America, right? I was just a blob, and I thought I was happy, and all my friends were as fat as I was, and we thought we were happy because we had fat checks, but I was miserable. I mean, it's just absolutely miserable. So, getting in check mentally is equally as important as getting in check physically, right? Yeah. Mind and body exercise are one and the same, and nutrition's a part of that too, and you got to have it all in sync. You can have great ideas, but if you have poor personal habits, poor personal hygiene, not hygiene, but poor personal workout habits and energy habits and exercise habits, then that kind of bleeds over.
So what's an unusual habit or absurd thing that you love? Tracy.
I've been trying to think of this since I knew you were going to ask me this question. I have nothing. I don't think I have any, like, seriously, an absurd habit.
I bet Adam probably knows what it is. Adam knows what it is.
Yeah, so I don't think she has absurd. Maybe absurd's the wrong word. I mean, but she has like hypersensitive habits, right? So so this is something that, you know, it's kind of funny, but it helps us. So anything in our life that happens, anything, like if I want to go to the bathroom at 2:00, it's got to be on the family calendar, right? So that level of detail and planning is in every aspect of our life. So Tracy, I guess that's true. Tracy started that. I mean, I have kids who have like not been picked up from sports or school because Tracy says it wasn't on the calendar. You know, it's not happening, right? So there is. I don't know. I guess, and I write everything down. Which makes him crazy. I'm always like, let me get a pen and paper and write that down. Like when we got papers, I said, let me print that out. Adam said, you don't need to print it out. I said, I have to see it. Like I'm a visual person, so I have to have pen and paper and I write everything down. And I think he does not get that at all because he's like, just listen. And
so what about you? So what about I'm not relying on the memory here to get things done. Yeah,
I write it down. I write it all down.
There's way too much.
But there's a nugget in there, right? So and it's funny because I'll probably have to have Tracy answer what my absurd habit is. She probably has one. But the key is like harnessing that, right? So I'm a very vision oriented guy. I talk a lot. Prophecy, a lot of things, right? This is what we're going to do. This is where we're going. But I've learned, right? So if I want anything to happen, any trajectory forward, I need to write it all down for Tracy. I need to show it. I need to give her something visual to see.
Yeah.
And the vision's there. So I found a way to get her on my plane, on things. But, so you have to learn how to work within the system, right? The marriage system too, and the business system.
You got it.
But that calendarization of everything in our life, I mean, so it's almost like a metaphor for our business too. So anything we do, Tracy gets it regimented, on paper, written, and it just becomes fact. No matter what, it just becomes, at that point, it's written down. It is what, it's Bible, gospel at that point. So that's helped us do here at 618.
All right, last question for you guys. If you could have a gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, metaphorically speaking, you're getting a message out to millions or billions of people, what would it say and why? This could be a few words, could be a paragraph, and if it's helpful, it could be somebody else's quote, like maybe a quote that you live by, or mantra, a quote you think of often.
Yep. Gotcha.
What would be for you, Tracy?
I would say live your best life.
She says this all the time. So
do what you need to do for you. Worry about how you're going to make yourself happier, what you can do for yourself, and don't let other people hold you down and be negative. Just do what you have to do to keep happy.
Love it. Live your best life. I feel like that's going to be on a banner here in a second.
No, don't give it away, G.
I spoiled it. Adam, what you got for us?
I mean, you really undersold. I mean, she says that a lot with a lot of passion around, but kind of undersold that. But for me, there's a quote that I've had. I was telling the story the other day to somebody. Again, way back in the day, I remember in my corporate office, we were like the first people to ever get whiteboards. I was like, oh my gosh, what is this, right? So we'd have like whiteboard battles over who could write like cool quotes on there. But I have had the same quote that has governed everything I do since day one. And I don't know where it came from or who said it originally, but in golf, I love golf, right? So I have lots of golf quotes. In golf, as in life, it's the follow through that makes a difference, right? So you can say you're going to do anything. You can speak all kinds of truth. You can manifest, visualize, whatever it is you want to do. But if you're not going to put in the work, you're going to put in the grind, and you're not going to put in all the effort behind it, all that follow through, right? It's never going to happen. So it's kind of like the colloquial version of walking the walk versus talking the talk, right? So you got to have.
I noted that. So working with Dallas here, Dallas uses a lot of sports analogies as well.
I definitely do. I'm not a golf guy, but I talk football metaphors a lot, and occasionally, Adam, when you mentioned the pro wrestling tag team earlier. That's my unusual habit, as I'm a lifelong WWE person. So I'll talk wrestling stuff too every now and again too. But
my kids are diehards. We go to every event in St. Louis, Dallas. So
there you go. Nice.
I can't believe you brought that up though.
Maybe
it's like
maybe that should have been our
little embarrassing.
Well, those are two awesome tags here. Obviously, everybody listening, we also support local here at CrossFit Edwardsville. One more question for you guys. I know I put the banner up a few times, but tell everybody, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, I mean, easiest way is social media, right? So everything to us links from Instagram and Facebook. You can find ours, you can find phone numbers, emails, direct communication with Tracy and I, menus, product information. It all starts at our Facebook and Instagram sites.
Awesome.
Well, I want to say a great big thank you to both you guys, Adam, Tracy, for hanging out with us today, sharing your story, helping us to learn more about you guys. I also want to have a great big thank you, shout out to Dallas for helping to co-lead the podcast today. And to all of our listeners, thank you for tuning in to listen to this story and learn more about 618 Nutrition. Speaking of sports analogies, Dallas, how are we going to sign this thing off?
Well, like we always do. Adam, Tracy, thank you again for joining us. Great to have you here. But everybody out there, you can connect with us, obviously, at CrossFit Edwardsville. Connect with them at 618 Nutrition. But until we talk to you next time, have a championship day.